There is some serious confusion about the status of some members of the Oregon National Guard. Earlier today, Governor Kotek announced that all 200 federalized Oregon Guard troops would be demobilized and headed home, but the military said that it would only be 100. Fox 12 investigative reporter Ezra Kaplan has been sorting through the details and joins us now with the latest. Ezra.
You know, earlier this week, we learned that half of the Oregon troops were being sent home and that all of the National Guard troops from California were scheduled to depart. But the status of those last 100 Oregon Guard members seems to be up in the air. Now, the Oregon National Guard has been active since late September when the Trump administration ordered their deployment to protect federal buildings like the ICE facility in Portland. But a lawsuit brought by the city and the state successfully blocked the troop deployment. And then in a press release sent earlier this afternoon, Governor Kotek confirmed that all 200 Oregon Guard members would be demobilized. Attorney General Dan Rayfield added that the last 100 members would be done on Friday. But there seems to be some confusion because this is what the governor had to say just moments ago.
Earlier today, we had verbal commitment from the Northern Command that all 200 Oregon National Guard troops were going to be demobilized and be going home. Now we're hearing they're waiting, and so we don't know if that's actually happening. We had been told 100 would be going to demobilization and going home. We were hoping for the full 200. They told us it would be the full 200. I think it's just an indicator of the confusion and inconsistency and lack of, frankly, protocol to decide what is happening with our National Guard troops. I'm going to keep pushing for sending everybody home, following the law and the federal court order. People should be home. The holiday season is starting. They should be home. Let's stop wasting millions of dollars by keeping our troops in places that make no sense.
And an update on the website for U.S. Northern Command, which has overseen the federalized National Guard, stated that, quote, their footprint in Portland, Los Angeles, and Chicago has shifted to ensure a constant, enduring, and long-term presence in each city. The website shows that there are 100 Oregon Guard troops demobilizing, but that another 100 Oregon Guard troops are remaining activated in Portland. Those soldiers are conducting training and planning, but are not operational. And to complicate the situation further, we're just hearing that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals put a pause on the ruling by a lower court that found the troop federalization was illegal. In that new court order, the justices essentially put a pause on the appeal while the Supreme Court considers a related case out of Illinois. But in the meantime, today's ruling means that at least temporarily, the Trump administration can federalize National Guard troops. Reporting in studio, Ezra Kaplan, Fox 12 Oregon.